It's ridiculous when you say stuff like that. Oh, that was in the beginning of the recording too.
You ready? Get it together, Godar.
A little bit at a time.
God. All right. This is going to be a fun one today. I guess we'll see. A fun one or a hard one, because it's about having hard conversations. And I feel like this week's been a little fucked up or a little just like off. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, it's just been a more challenging week.
Yeah, you'll have those. It's also a full moon. That's why, right?
I knew it was bright when I was running outside the other morning.
I know that. It's a mystery. Mystery solved. Let's kick it off with the tip of the week, because no one has told me that they hate it yet. And in all fairness, the episode has not aired yet. So, got you guys. Godar, what's the tip of the week? Do you remember?
Yeah. The tip of the week is really based around what I teach my kids is, the whole thought process that what other people think doesn't really fucking matter. And the tip of the week is really a more of a press or a challenge, I would say, to challenge you to give one less fuck in some area of your life. Maybe you haven't started shooting content. Maybe you haven't started writing certain things or haven't said certain things because you're afraid of what others may think. And I challenge you to take one of those millions of things you feel like that on, because we all feel this and we all have to overcome it a little bit at a time. And I challenge you on one of those things to not give a fuck what somebody thinks and go ahead and jump on it and start doing it.
It's so true, because, and I want to extend that challenge, because look at the people that you follow on social media or the people whose podcasts you listen to or videos you watch. They are people who most likely don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Those are the people I resonate with the most. I'm most attracted to with their content is the people who are so unapologetically and authentically themselves, and they just put their words, their purpose, whatever it is, out there for the world, and critics be damned kind of thing. I love that, and I want to extend that challenge and bring that into the small business landscape, because we no one's ever gonna walk up to you and tell you now have the ability to stop giving a fuck what people think, or today you'll have the confidence to do that. No, you just have to start. So take one small step, like you said, to do that.
So this week was a tip and a challenge.
Yeah.
Don't give a fuck and start something, one thing.
Yes. Oh, maybe it should be a challenge of the week.
Ooh, well, maybe we just do both. Maybe it can be one or the other, and we can leave this open so it makes it easier.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, keep letting us know. Okay, so let's get into this, because I don't have any other fluff or bullshit to waste people's time with. I'm sorry. Have more hard conversations. This is something that sums up your week very well, but also sums up a lot of just what you take on generally, and what most people who are at your level or higher, I mean, that's like kind of the job description when you get to this level. So take it away, homie.
Well, and to kind of preface that, it's also like the job description if you want to move up fast, like you're starting a business and you're wanting to grow. This goes back to the whole deal. Do the hard things, right? It's so easy to show up and try to find the easiest things to do, not have conversations that make people uncomfortable, give people a pat on the back, and avoid the people who need to be told that they need to have a kick in their ass, like all these different things. And this week has just been a little wonky, because there have been multiple things where I had to have a conversation with someone where they didn't want to have it. Or there was all these things that presented themselves as things that, honestly, I'd rather not do. But so if I want to move forward faster, if I want the company to get better faster, if I want everything to be better, or not even me, if you want things to be better, anyone listening to this, anyone in their entire life, like as you have these things present themselves and your natural tendency is like, hey, let's avoid that and let's go do the easier thing. Really, that's an indicator that that's the thing that you should be leaning into and doing.
That's so true. And I don't think, even though this is, today we're really talking about the hard conversations that you have to have with other people, I think that could be sort of extended to hard tasks as well, because it can be so easy to procrastinate things that just feel out of your wheelhouse or above your pay grade. And again, as an entrepreneur or as anyone who is striving to move to the next level in their own life, like
Yep.
you need to be doing those things. Do those things first. Save the easy things for later. Do those hard things.
Yeah, and like when I first started in Illinois, I always wanted to make sure people were happy, people were content, you know, all these different things. But I realized I'm trying to move a lot faster now with what we're doing here in Florida. And honestly, I want people to be happy, but I don't care about your happiness over the success of our business when it's your performance or something you're doing. Like if you have a major thing that you can't help or whatever, like that's one thing. But when it's just flat out you're not performing or you're not doing, like you're not aligning with the company, I don't care about that over us becoming successful. And so I've taken on recently, and I've even asked some of the people here, have you know, like is this apparent that like I have been more transparent, meaning like instead of fluffy fluff in front of people, I'm just like, hey, that's totally fucking unacceptable, and this is how we're going to change it. Do you have a problem with that? What else do we need to do? Is there anything, did I fuck this up? How could I have done this better so we didn't have this issue? And like, instead of add to all the bullshit in life, start being an advocate of cutting through the bullshit and getting straight to the point, clearing the lines of communication, even to the point of us having meetings, you know, not the worst, but what I would consider a couple come to Jesus meetings the last couple weeks where, you know, people were doing the high school shit where someone was bitching about someone to someone else. And I flat out just told everybody, we're not going to do that. If you got a problem with someone, we're grown-ups here, address them. If you don't know how to handle that, you should probably keep your fucking mouth shut and keep it to yourself if you don't have anything good to say. And moving forward, I'm looking down the road at our success. And whatever that means, I'm not looking at my feet. So if you're looking at your feet and trying to get ahead or trying to stir shit for something that you think that's going to be personal gain to you, as I'm looking down the road, that's where we're all headed. And I'm going to take the people with me that want to go that direction. And if whatever changes or things that we need to make along the way, I'm going to make them fast, whether they're wrong or right, to a course correct and get there, which basically means if you're acting totally against the company or you're not jiving with the company for reasons that aren't like, that are just totally not allowable or not in our culture, like we're going to remove you from the company or we're going to adjust something in the company. And that might mean, yeah, you don't have a job.
So there's, that was all awesome. And there's a few things I want to touch on is first, when you say like our success or you're like, you know, what you're doing is unacceptable, I'm focusing on our success. I really want to explain, and maybe that's clear to like the business owners that are listening.
Yeah.
It's the overall success of the company. It's not like stop breathing into the microphone. You're driving me nuts.
Sorry, I have to breathe.
In somewhere else. It's the overall success of the company. And it's not like your performance is unacceptable, so it's affecting my paycheck, which I mean, it is, but it's like it all comes back to every single person on this team. And something that's been kind of interesting for us recently is like, so this is a second location. We've been doing this. This is our 8th year doing this. And I know there's people listening that have probably been in business longer or whatever. Sorry. But we've seen a lot of shit. You know, we've had a lot of experiences, and a lot of things we're dealing with now at our new location in Florida is like same shit we've kind of dealt with and seen. It's not new. Like it might be new for like some of the new managers here, but it's like, it's interesting to have that perspective where it's like, this is not shocking. We know how this ends kind of thing. So this is what we need to do. And I think that when you talk about like getting rid of the fluff, it's because you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, you know, wore out the t-shirt. So it's an interesting perspective to have, and it really does change how you want to do that.
When I realized that, like when I first started one of these businesses, I gave into all the fluff and trying to make people feel good. And it was at the expense of, when I say the success of the company, I don't mean me. I mean the success for everyone. It was at the expense of all kinds of people. There, as a leader, people look to you to correct the situations that are bad. It's not their job to fix the person who doesn't fit the culture, who everybody actually hates, but nobody says anything about it, and it's eating away and it's a cancer to your company. And so I, a million times, left those people in the company for a long, long amount of time until something imploded. And I really didn't do too much coaching and or course correcting with them along the way. So instead, now we are doing that. Like everyone here knows this is a performance-based company. If you're deemed a crew leader, that's not a guarantee that that's your job. As we go forward, it's about all of us winning. And so we win more when we have more successful players. And if someone is doing something that's not successful, I look at this like, and I'm not even a sports guy, right? But since motocross isn't a team sport, it's a one-man sport, I have to compare it to teams. And I want the best fucking team there is. And to have the best team, shitty people get cut and rock stars stay on the team. And as Tom would say, I want fucking winners. And I don't want other people. And that sounds harsh and that sounds bad, but it's that feeling versus the way I felt before that's going to make all the good people love the place more, because instead of letting that person cause cancer, I'm not going to just walk up to somebody and say, you're fired, like for no reason. I'm going to see the person. I'm going to have conversations with them. I'm going to adjust things that are going on. Like we just started doing an employee score.
Oh, I love this. Yeah.
Employee promotion score rating that is a peer-reviewed promotion score.
It's anonymous.
And so, yeah, it's anonymous. Everybody votes on it. And because I don't want to be the only person who determines if someone needs a raise. So their peers know better than me if someone is performing. And, it sparked some hard conversations where I had to say things about people's scores. And if you have a low score, the fact of the matter is whether you think you're great or not, your peers don't. And that is 100% on that person. And it's my job to tell that person that and tell those people what they can do or at least show them that, hey, there's an issue you need to course correct, instead of being like, oh, man, that person has a low score. Man, I'm just going to try to, hopefully it'll blow over and let it go and let it go and let it go. Because if he's got a low score, or she's got a low score, or whoever has a low score on that means their peers don't think highly of them. If there's a person that their peers don't think highly of and you don't do anything about it, then they think less highly of you because they think you're a poor leader because you can't work through the shit that's going on in the company.
I think it can be really easy to make excuses for why bad people stay. Like you've said before that, like as your role progresses as a business owner, then your main job becomes, maintaining the culture. And these are all things to maintain a healthy, positive culture, even though they're maybe being presented in like a very tough love fashion. But like this demonstrates right there, like you are creating a great place to work. Yep. And I love that. I think it's so important because it can be so easy to tell the story like, well, I can't get rid of this guy because he knows how to do this and we book these kinds of projects and nobody wants to work right now. Like you can get in your own way about that and not realize that you are truly killing your entire culture just with your own kind of excuses or indirectness. And it is crazy how taking this direct approach, having the hard conversations, maintaining accountability for everybody, not taking the accountability off of you as the leader, but asking them as well. Like, how can you change this? How can we change this? What can I do? What can you do? Yep. It's a really nice approach and it pays off huge in terms of culture. For sure. And it's going to feel uncomfortable and it's not going to be fun. But the fact of the matter is people appreciate it. People appreciate accountability. Well, and the great people on your team, the people that you have attracted, have come to your team and are thriving, like those are the people you want to keep and nurture and you want to make them have a great environment. It's crazy on one person that doesn't fit the culture and is not a match. You probably know from the first week that they're there and those people make it a bad place to work for the good people. Like you should really, and not everyone, just like not everyone's your ideal client. I mean, truly not everyone's your ideal employee. There's jokes in this industry about how, if they can breathe, they can work, but that's so not true if you're trying to build a company with a good culture that will actually scale and be somewhere people want to work. Like, like you should have much higher standards, but people just like bad clients, poorer performing employees will come in, and that's where your job is to be direct and have the hard conversations.
Exactly. And like I said, that stuff doesn't ever get easier. Nobody wants to come to work all the time. And it's not all the time. Things ebb and flow. I had that conversation this morning while I was having one of the good conversations. And I said, it's like no one wants to go to work and have hard conversations all the time. But there's portions of, like you said, right now is a weird time. This week's been weird. There's times when you're going to have a million and it's all going to be really, really hard all the time. And then there's going to be times where it feels like everything's perfect and you have no issues, It's really up and down.
It is so crazy. And that was something we wanted to talk about too in a separate episode, but I can kind of drop in here. It's like entrepreneurship, owning a business, this whole game is like, it's high highs and low lows, man. And you just have to be willing to ride the ride. Cause it's very rarely ever in a neutral place or always in a high place.
Yeah.
And something we've kind of talked about too, because we are experienced in the whole like having employees, thing. And it's like someone tends to become, I don't know how to say this tenderly, but someone tends to become the person at the bottom or the person who is causing the issues. And when that person's gone, it's maybe someone who's affecting the culture. It almost seems like naturally someone else falls to the bottom. And then there's always like the rock stars that rise to the top, but it's just something that's part of building a team with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different skills, people, and different opportunities where people can grow, people with different backgrounds, people with different things going on in their everyday life and in different places, like mentally, whatever, like it is kind of a natural thing that happens. And so I think it can shock a lot of people though. Cause I remember realizing that a few years ago, it's like, wow, it feels like we got rid of the one person that was doing bad. And then what just happened? Somebody, this person that was doing great just seems to be totally on the bottom now. It's a weird phenomenon. And I'd love to know if other people have experienced that. Cause I feel like we're constantly battling that.
And I've always heard that though. Like I remember that in the body shop and everything, you always find a new bottom, a new person that you're working with, because when you take away the bottom, the next person up becomes that. And I think then it becomes about, trying to coach those people and finding what the acceptable bottom is, because there's always going to be top players and bottom players. And
just like on a team probably with sports. We don't know because we don't watch sports, but that's probably how that works. Some
players
too.
sit on the bench, but they're still on
the team.
A pro team.
Yeah, that's true. But I think, like you said, like you don't want to always be having those hard conversations. And I think this has been, like you said, a big week of that. But then it's crazy how with the high highs and the low lows, I feel like we're going to just swim right into like glorious weeks of ease probably, because that's how it goes. Everything will be going great all across the board. And then it all hits at once. And it's kind of just how it goes. But it can be, I think, pretty isolating and lonely when you, like, it's got to be, you're, like, very experienced at this now, but I would imagine when you first realize, holy shit, this is my sole responsibility, that's probably, like, pretty overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, like, so I just had something that's distracting me a little bit in the middle of the conversation. There's a client that's unhappy with the job we just finished, right? And really what you realize, though, is I care more about that and preventing that from happening. And that is by having good people. And that's by making sure we're always staying on the culture to take care of those things. And it makes it, when you start looking around at like, what are the things that you really, really need to focus on? You start, at first you think you're being mean and you're not belittling people. You're not degrading people. You're just
if you do it right.
Yeah. If you're doing it right, you're just making sure the team is where the team needs to be. And just like that client being upset, like it might have not even been at the fault. It was just little mix up in communication or something. But like, if that was the team's fault for doing whatever, that's just like the team can potentially let the rest of the team down because of our success, the success we have. So that's the overarching thing that keeps you away from caring about having the hard conversations suck. Nobody wants to have them over and over, but there's this big purpose and this big reason that powers you to go and do those. So I'm more experienced probably doing them, but in the same token, I have no more fucking fun than the first day when I did it.
Well, it's so true. And so, I mean, if the whole reasoning behind having these hard conversations, maintaining the culture, it's to continue, or it's to remain aligned and continue driving the whole ship forward, then it truly makes sense that this whole premise would carry over into your personal life, into your relationships. And I think that we can all probably relate to having to have these hard conversations in our relationship, or whether it's like with our significant other or with someone important in our lives. Maybe it's with a family member who's not like respecting boundaries, or who's like a total wreck, or just something like that. I mean, like we can speak from experience with that, where we have a low tolerance in our personal lives for people who are not aligned, who are not going to help us continue moving forward in our lives. Not, and maybe that sounds selfish, but more of like the people, the people that hold you down, or the people that are just like toxic. Like you have those in your friend groups and you have those in your family. That is just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
And we have had a plethora of those conversations over the years, where maybe we're setting hard boundaries, or someone's just not part of our life anymore because we've had hard conversations about how this is how we're moving forward. And it's so interesting because it's the same thing. It's for the sake of, in this instance, our kids, not a team.
Yeah.
But it's like for the sake of the positive growth of everyone involved here, like this is how this is going to happen.
Yeah, when you stop looking about like how you feel and how it makes you feel to do these things and how it makes that one person feel to receive this, and you start looking at everything like how does that affect the whole?
Well, I think that you're doing a favor. Like I think about, let's talk about.
That's a whole different topic. That's a whole nother subject. Yeah.
Right. But like, let's just like kind of take it off the whatever for a minute of like, let's say we're cutting off a family member that by traditional standards should never be cut off. Then you really are like it. If you've gotten to that point where you're cutting out someone toxic, which is a very like parallel situation to maybe finally just ending things with a toxic employee, like everyone's going to be better, not just you and the people that you're protecting in that instance, but like it's better for that person too. There was something like that prompted all of this. And I truly believe, back to the employee situation, I think that when you let an employee who doesn't align with your mission and your values and your goals and the culture and everyone else, like when you let them go, or they inevitably, move on because they know they don't fit, like I think nothing but success could come next for them. Because you're obviously like, you're grinding here. And so it's like, here's an incredible opportunity for you to actually go find somewhere that you don't.
Yeah, you're actually doing that. That's the other thing. And we're not even necessarily talking about, well, we talked about if you have to fire somebody that you got to, but like, so we're not even necessarily talking about firing people, but on the same token, on that side of what you just said, like it's your duty to try to help your employees as much as possible. And even though sometimes it doesn't seem like help, the most important thing you could do for them is get them out of where they're at and give them the opportunity to be somewhere else. And if you have a hard time with that and you think that's wrong and you want to try to be nicer and try to coach them forever, well, maybe you should go a step further than, instead of just letting them go, find them a new potential spot to land that better suits them, since you know them now. Because you could actually be holding someone back from their true potential by having them in your job if they're not ever going to be the right fit.
Whether in that position or just in your company as a whole, I think it's so true. And even if it is, I mean, any hard conversation not only feels better after you've had it, it's like that immediate like weight off your shoulders, but you have hopefully action steps to move you forward, so you know what comes next and what the next what's going to happen next if this continues, and how are we going to make a change. But it's also like such an incredible opportunity, and it is your duty as a business owner, as a parent, whatever it is in the instance that you as a listener and maybe thinking of right now, and relating back to your own life, like it is your duty to have those, because it's going to be a positive every time. So
yeah. And that's the other thing, like on the token of firing people, you really know you've done a good job and it's been a good fire when like it's really, really hard the whole way through, and then there's relief afterwards. And honestly, there's probably relief for the person you're working for too, or that's working for you too. Because if you're feeling tons of pressure, even if they seem like they're just, what the fuck is going on with this person? Like they probably feel it too, whether they can put that into words for you or not.
Yeah, the energy.
And that, being free from that and being able to look to the next thing could be a huge game changer for them. Am I not talking to my mic close enough or something? You're looking at me funny.
No, you keep leaning your head back and you're talking up to like the ceiling and stuff. And okay. I don't know how it sounded. I stopped hearing you in my
okay. So everyone, I'm sorry about I've got neck issues where I'm rolling my head around all the time.
Yeah, moving around. I can't think of the animal that you're reminding me of right now, but something with a wobbly neck.
A giraffe?
Maybe.
A wobbly old giraffe.
A wobbly old giraffe. I think this has been a really easy conversation to have about hard conversations.
Yep.
I think it just opens the doors hopefully for whoever's listening to feel like empowered to go have that conversation. Maybe that's the challenge. Now go have whatever conversation you've been putting off. Go do the thing you've been putting off, whether it's in your personal life or in your business, and see the positive ripples that come from doing the really hard shit, because doing the hard shit in all forms is what gets you to the next level and helps you.
Yeah. And it's funny how you said that doing the hard shit in all forms is what gets you to the next level. This is just one form of it. Like, this is just the conversations. Imagine a business where all the hard shit you leaned into and that's the stuff you focused on versus always trying to run away and do the fun stuff, you know? I always give people a hard time about like what fucking mower, what this, and like say that's fucking irrelevant. But that honestly is a perfect version of someone focusing on the things that are really easy, that don't take any pressure, you know, versus focusing on the really challenging stuff. You know, it's just like people that aren't educated on their numbers. Well, numbers aren't always fun because it uncovers the things you're fucking up. The people, it uncovers your insecurities of having hard conversations with people. The connect, like some of like sales, like follow up, things like that. Or sometimes like, oh, I don't want to call. I feel uncomfortable. Like, but those are all the things that if you just focused on doing what made you uncomfortable all the time, you would go a million times faster. You'd have a better business, and more importantly for yourself and for everyone, you'd have more money, which means more opportunity for everyone involved.
That's a pretty big incentive right now to go have those conversations.
Yeah.
So if you guys are liking this, I'm going to ask again, liking the podcast, liking especially episodes like this, because I feel like these conversations actually do hold the most water, have the most like impact truly if you go take action on it. So if you are liking these, let us know with a rating or a review. We'd love to know kind of what you're liking. I've said it before, you know, we are putting out sort of a variety of episodes, relationships, business, all kinds of things. Let us know what you're liking and resonating with the most, because that is what we want to continue focusing on to make this an enjoyable experience for you.